thank you for being here on this episode of Intuition, Your First Sense. I have brought a guest on, and her name is Michele Bourdo, and I have worked with her for years and have used her for curriculum development and for course magic recently, and was just so impressed and asked her if she could come on because in addition to that, she is also an experienced tarot reader, and that is not an area that I have ever delved into. And I did oracle cards, but never really felt drawn to the tarot. And I'm fascinated by those who are, and I feel like she brings a very grounded approach and has a lot of information, and she's got some great product that she offers up. And of course, content creating we are. So there's a bunch of content that would be beneficial if you're interested in the tarot. So like I've promised you before, if I don't know about it, I will bring someone on. So here you go. Listen to our conversation and let me know if you'd like to hear more on the tarot. Thank you for coming to this episode of Intuition, Your First Sense. This is Vicki, obviously. Today, I have a guest on, and like I said in the end of last season, I wanted to have people on for this season, this year, whom I've known real life, although this guest and I have not met in person. I feel like we have. And to support the community that supported me, but also to bring all of you these services that are out there that I know of that are amazing, and to maybe spread the word a little bit more. Well, not maybe, we will spread the word more that you can access this information. So today I have Michele on with me from Moxie Coaching, and she is Moxie Coaching along with a wonderful assistant of hers. And we are going to cover who knows what, because it's me, let's be honest. So let me have, like I do with all my guests, I want them to introduce themselves. It just is much more natural. And I don't like that whole read a sheet. And then I'm always afraid because the people I have on that I know, I'm like, don't disclose, Vic, don't disclose. So let me have Michele, thank you for joining us. We've talked about this for a while. I'm glad it's actually coming to fruition. So tell the peeps who you be, a little bit of what you bring, because I do want to get into it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me on. I greatly appreciate it. I have been a longtime listener of Intuition, Your First Sense. And full disclosure, Vicki is my personal coach, and she rocks. So just putting that out there so there's no weirdness, there's no anything like that. Moxie Coaching is a kind of untraditional coaching system. I am a life coach. I am also a tarot reader. I have a podcast, and I do digital course development on the side. And I actually integrate all of those pieces in my coaching. And on a personal side, I'm an artist and a yogi, quantum physics groupie, geek, nerd type person. Yeah, so that's kind of who I am in general.
And pet owner and wannabe traveler and all of those other things that are, multifaceted. So thank you for your compliment. I always feel a little weird. I know it's not for me to disclose, but it is how I meet the most fascinating people, is they come into my life either through an individual session or doing the coaching. And I love that because it creates community. So what's been fun for me is to watch. It's almost like Moxie Coaching is in and of itself like a personification, and it's growing. And I feel like I've watched your other kid grow up.
Yeah. You watched me give birth, basically. Yeah.
Oh, I love being there when people
all of the difficulties. Yes.
I love being there. If babies didn't take so long, I might have done the doula route.
Yeah, there you go.
But within Moxie Coaching and with all of your diverse
Mm-hmm.
interests, we have the life coaching, we have the tarot,
Mm-hmm.
we have the course development, which again, I'm going to disclose. I hired Michele to do the upgrade of the soul course and absolutely thrilled and so easy to work with. Like I've done this before with other people and invested way too much emotionally and financially. But the return on this was amazing. The artwork, because like you said, you're an artist, and that definitely showed up. And so many people are saying that. They're like, oh, I love art. I love the design. I love all this stuff. So they can tell I didn't do it. If it's not super easy Canva, yeah, don't call me. I love it. I want to, but it shows up in my head, but not on paper. So the tarot part of it, I obviously blend intuition in with my coaching. So I love this blend. I do not know anything about the tarot.
Okay.
Other than what I've learned from you.
Okay.
So it's fun. So one of my questions is, how has the tarot helped you to open up yourself, to open up your gifts to other people, but also to bring you peace, like connectivity?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I first started and developed an interest in tarot, I was in my 20s, right? And it was all about, does he think I'm hot? That kind of stuff. And it was a very superficial use of the tarot, very traditional. I want answers to this and I want to know my future and all of those things. And as I got older and was called back to it, it was much more about personal development, exploration of what was going on with me. And so I started using the tarot in a way that allowed me to ask questions of myself and use the cards as the prompts for those questions, with the idea that, excuse me, what's coming up in the cards is in my subconscious, and this is stuff I need to deal with. And so I can get a feeling for what I need to deal with and then use the cards to assist me in pointing me in the right direction in terms of how to do that. So that's really, it's a very intimate, personal process in a lot of ways to use it that way.
And I've been fascinated by people over the years who are drawn to the tarot. Now, I love oracle cards. I feel like it's the same and beautifully different.
Right.
I love that people who are drawn to the tarot, man, they are tarot people. Yeah. And people who are drawn to the oracle cards, we seem to be like oracle card people. And they've merged. There's some beautiful oracle cards that are now tarot decks, which I have a couple of them. And I used to joke that I was just too lazy to learn everything about the tarot. Sure. And I realized, no, there's a real calling, like there's a draw to it. And I wanted to bring it up because often that can be put in the woo-woo category.
Yes.
Right. And people, if we've been led to believe that it's not healthy or it's dangerous or any of those things, we may still feel that pull to do it, to work with it, but not listen because we're afraid of whatever that perception is of other people, right? It gets buried in the subconscious because we are a culmination of our experiences. Did you have any of that? Like, did you have any of that was in there that you had to work through?
Not for me personally so much, only because I think I started at a point in my life when I originally became interested in it. It was a point in my life where I was trying to figure out what I believed in general. And I've always been very liberal. And so walking into the occult section of the bookstore did not freak me out the way it would some people. And that's where you find the tarot, which is what is creating the problem in some ways. It's this perception that, and TV, movies, our culture has cultivated this concept of the gypsy tarot reader who turns over the death card and the music goes, kind of thing. So I have run into it or from the perspective where when I tell people what I do,
Mm-hmm.
it is, oh, and then they just sort of pause and then they don't know what to say. Some people will say, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
and then ask a different question and move on and pass over the topic completely.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've been working personally to demystify, to take out of the realm of the occult and put it into the realm of personal development tool.
Mm-hmm. And that's a part, we haven't mentioned it yet, but your own podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Where what I've learned about the tarot, I learned by listening to that when I'm taking the pup for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
You come on right after Rachel Maddow.
I love Rachel. Okay, cool.
In my listing, as soon as that's finished, I hear your music start.
Okay.
And I'll be honest in that I don't retain a lot of it, but I feel like I'm more understanding of the relationship that's also built with the cards. And that I think can be a comfort. I know it can be a comfort. It's why I have an Oracle card reading class on my website, because I used to teach in person. But so you've encountered that that moment, that pause. It's like when I tell people intuitive life coach, either they're on the life coach side of, well, who would need that and why? Or they're stuck in the intuitive and they're like psychic. And I'm like, yeah. Or the perception that psychic means you know everything. So there are a lot of misconceptions as well as misperceptions. And I think a lot of that does come from a lack of not just education, but there's a lack of culture sometimes of passing down of these things that in some cultures it comes from your elders, and so there's no questioning of it, right? And in that way is subconscious supporting too. So when you encounter these people, because I feel like, and I know a lot of the people that listen to this are in their exploration, they're stepping out, they're expanding place. And it can feel freaking lonely
and terrifying
and questioning and wondering, well, am I the crazy one? Like, am I the one who's lost her minds? And if I start these practices, this is one of my favorites. If I start these practices, am I going to become the nutty woo person, who maybe leans a little bit too far? So I'm not sure what my question is in total transparency, but I feel like it's around how have you danced with that, like within yourself? You said that you were already comfortable with it, so maybe it wasn't as much of a thing, but we've talked about before the perception of others. Should I do tarot? Should I not connect it to my coaching? Should I not connect it to my course development? And I want you to help us understand in the best way that you can of how it can be a tool in all of this. And oh my goodness, how it can be clarifying.
Yes. Okay. All right. Good. The podcast walks people through basically the entire tarot. We're finishing up right now. I think we've only got 4 or 5 episodes left, and then we will have literally covered every card in the tarot. And we've covered every card from the perspective of what is the traditional meaning, so people have some context, from the perspective of what does this card mean in our lives, and then what questions can I ask as someone who is very new to the tarot, listeners, that will help me glean what I need to glean from this card. So I'm trying to set up a system where people can really dig into the tarot in a way that's helpful for them without having to necessarily know every detail of, gosh, well, what does the Torah mean in here? And the symbolism is immense. There's an incredible amount of information to learn. So what I've tried to do is set things up in a way that people can determine or use the tarot to help them come up with some answers for moving themselves forward.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a long roundabout way to say that. But
yeah, I never do that.
Yeah. I come by it honestly. So yeah, I mean, it's, my goal is to, if I could give everybody a tarot deck, a journal, and, the basic worksheets that I have on my website and say, here, go find yourself. I feel like people could actually do that if they really put the mental energy into it and get a lot out of it, because it helps you learn how to trust yourself. And it teaches you how to trust your intuition. And when you can do that, in my experience, things tend to move in the direction you want them to go.
It sounds like another tool, there are plenty, but a great tool to combine who we are, right? We're these non-physical beings with our physical selves, and use all of it. Like, you have this physical deck. I think that's why the cards appeal to me. Is I'm a very tangible person. I like things to be in my hand, and none of this is tangible until it comes into physical manifestation, right? So I feel like the cards can, in some ways, represent our path. Like, if you do a spread, or if you do something, you can represent the likely, possible, and you have to put the probable in. Like, you have to have action. The cards can reflect to you. They can guide you. You can even have a download of your own intuitive information while doing the reading for yourself. But you still have to get off your butt. Like, you still have to put the effort in order to do it. And that's why I do love the fact that it's part of your coaching. And that there was a question of, do I include it? Don't I include it? Because it's very much you and what you love and what's helped strengthen your abilities. But then to have that capability for working with a client, it's just, well, I know this from my perspective, but I don't want to answer for you. Is it somewhat of a comfort to know that there's something you can go to when your own physical head is like, I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure what to do here. Let's see what the cards say.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we can use the cards in so many different ways in a session. Someone can literally just email me a question that they want coaching on. I can do a reading and email them back if they want that level of interaction. But in terms of a live coaching session, it's like, well, just give me a second. I'm going to look and see what I can come up with here. Or let's concentrate together. I want you to concentrate on what you think we need to see in order to help us figure out how to move you forward. If the person that I'm working with has their own deck, that's even better, because we can work through it that way. If not, then I can help them pull the cards, and we can look at the cards together and address how they may fit into a specific situation, how they might suggest someone move forward when they're unclear. And what blows my mind is how consistently the cards that people need to see are the cards that show up.
And I know that to be a guidance system, that's working with spirit, right? That's working with guides. I swear sometimes I feel like I use them for my own self, and I'll feel the next card coming up. I'll flip it and I'll be like, that's not the card I felt. And I'm like, oh, you little buggers, you got in there and you flipped it to the card I actually need to see right now. To hear it. Because, I can pick up all the subtleties in the world for other people intuitively, but for myself, I kind of need the 2x4, so because of personality and all that. So when you're working with this in the coaching aspect, I know you have a rule of 3 C's, kind of like the diamond.
Right.
So, and they're similar to, I have not contained it, but they're similar to my philosophy, I'll say. So could you share the 3 C's with
the listeners with us.
Did you know that most people work with me as a coach because they want to move forward in their professional lives? And then they realize once we start working together that it's a whole person approach, and I am going to help them move through their blocks, their fears, some of the trauma they've experienced, and to create a much more aligned life. So many times I hear, this is not what I thought I was signing up for. And that's such wonderful feedback to have, because if you're signing up and working with a coach and everybody does it the same, are you really being seen as an individual? At Vicki Baird Coaching, I do it all as an individual, and I would love to work with you. Go to vickibaird.com to check it out and see if you'd like to work with me.
The 3Cs kind of came about when I was trying to really figure out what I want to be able to contribute in this realm, because there are so many coaches out there, and I want to be in integrity in what I am offering out there. So put a lot of thought into it, and essentially what I came up with is the 3Cs are clarify, create, and contribute. And they're not necessarily a 3-step process. You can enter the process at whatever stage you feel is appropriate. But for someone who is brand new to coaching and just is trying to figure out their life, to begin with clarify, and we figure out who you are. That for me, my process, figuring out who I am, I love helping other people do that because it has made such a big difference for me. So yeah, we spend time figuring out who you are. Are you this? Are you that? Are you what other people thought you were? Or are you what you think you are? What do you think you are? All of those questions. And then if someone wants, we move into the create phase, where we take this new person that you have decided you are, whoever you are that you've become in touch with, and we figure out how you want to use that in life. Do you want to start a business? Do you want to start a project? What is it that you want to do? What do you want to create with your new knowledge of yourself? What do you want to give back? And then for those who are interested in one more step, because I have that course development background, because I have the project management, education, all those businessy things, I offer people the opportunity to work with me for the contribute aspect, which is what can we create? What can I help you create that you can put out there as a gift or as a business or whatever to share it with the world? Because everybody has something. We just need to figure out what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the 3Cs.
And I love that process. I love that it's clarity. Because the who am I, we've all, I think, experienced once you start asking that question, you start to shift, you start to grow, and then you might not know who you are in the next phase, but you'll have the comfort, you'll have the surety that you figured it out once, you'll figure it out again, and get even comfortable, another C, with the process of ever evolving, of becoming closer in alignment to who you are, but also expanded in what you've brought. So the who am I, that question's going to come up 100 million more times in your lifetime.
Right.
You're comfortable with it, and you get the basics. Like you said, one of the statements you said was, is this something that I've been told I am? Like that clearing of that clutter.
Yes.
This episode brought to you by the letter C. The clearing of that clutter, it just frees up not only the brain space, but the energy field and all of that in order to figure out what do you want to bring the world? Like how do you want to show up in this world? And, maybe that's not pumping out a product or a course or, going on to discover something massive. Maybe you're holding the door for every person you meet, or, maybe you drop off those little gifts in the mailboxes and stuff, the legal gifts, not anything dangerous. I always feel like there's a caveat. Oh, there's another C. Um, so by walking through this process
Mm-hmm.
with you, it sounds like a very whole person approach. You've got
Yes.
your spiritual self, you've got your human self, you've got community.
Mm-hmm.
You have something beyond yourself, because a lot of the times we can get caught up in our own stuff.
Especially in this realm, I think we can get caught up in our own stuff.
Oh yeah, in the physical realm, because we're people and we have evolving brains, and our brains have not evolved as fast as our non-physical cells and our spiritual cells. So they're a little bit lagging sometimes. So we are going to deal with self-worth issues or challenges, and changing all of that. So would you say that part of your desire is to help people to be walking around and embodying that feeling of, I'm going to use another C, which is contentedness. Like when you're content with your life, you have energy,
Mm-hmm.
you want to help, you want to be a contributing member of society. So is that part of your intention, your drive for
Mm-hmm.
this?
Yeah, I think, one of my buzzwords is always ease. And yeah, if I can, I mean, that's what I work toward in my life, is this sense of ease where things are in flow. It doesn't mean that things aren't difficult sometimes, but you can work through things as they come up in a healthy way. And if I can help other people get to that point and stay in that point or in that place and learn to trust themselves. And we can do that through the tarot. Of course, you can trust me as a coach. You can trust, there's so much information out there, but ultimately, if we don't trust ourselves, it doesn't work. And, we can have the best coach in the world that's just telling us, you rock, you're this, you're that. But until you internalize it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's really what I want people to have.
Fantastic. Because I have, maybe it's a pie in the sky view, but I really truly believe that the more people love themselves,
Uh-huh.
with all the divots and stuff that we have emotionally, physically, all that, like, the more we totally embrace ourselves and continue to expand, the less conflict there will be in the world. Because I feel like a lot of our challenges come from a hurt space. And certainly, when I'm working with someone and they're like, well, this is the problem. And I'm like,
Right.
maybe not. Can I suggest that, look behind the curtains and see
Exactly.
what could be in there? These are all ways to do that. It does take bravery.
Yes.
One of the things that keeps me humble is the bravery it takes for someone to schedule an appointment. And I'm like, well, I need to show up in that safe place. And I'm one of those coaches that loves that there's lots of coaches because I feel like the people that are attracted to us for our special sauce will reap the benefits. And then that's also because they're listening to their intuition too. So you're one step ahead on that. So you have actually a free tarot course on your website. I wanted to say complimentary to bring another C in there.
You could have.
I just love alliteration.
So,
and also free gets you lost in the marketing world.
right.
So you have a complimentary tarot course on your website. Can you give a little overview of that?
Yeah, that's just I think, a really fun short course. And the concept of the course is to essentially figure out what your birth card is in the tarot, and then learn about your birth card, the traits, the strengths, the weaknesses, who in the tarot world you might partner with well, all of that type of thing. So you get to learn how to calculate your birth card, which means then, of course, you can calculate everybody else's birth card, figure out what their deal is.
That's fun.
Yeah. It's just a fun introduction to the tarot for people who maybe, are tarot curious. It's kind of a nice way to dip your toe in and see what you think.
Yeah. And it is beautiful. And it's one of the ways that if you were interested in working with Michele through course development, it's a good way to see
Right.
some of the work too, or go look at my soul course. And I will say from a client of yours perspective, and yes, this can be done, people, you can work with others in a professional setting and still be in your professional setting, so I don't always recommend it. I feel like it has to be of the highest interest for two people to work together in ethics and all that, but it can happen. So when I was working with you, one of the things that I loved, because I've struggled with this, truly a struggle, is I feel like sometimes you took what I wrote and it sounded more like me after you wrote it. And I was like, yeah, that's what I said. And I feel like, because I know you have this professional background, like we haven't talked about it, but there are degrees there, and there's experiences working with nonprofits and helping them to pull together course curriculum. So this isn't your buy a course from somebody who decided to say they knew how to do courses thing, just for clarification purposes.
Yeah, yes, I do appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I've done 720-hour medical assisting curriculums down to this fun little birth card course. So I worked in nonprofit for a long time. I worked in education for a long time. And basically in all of those roles, I was the curriculum person. And so I love it. I love taking people's ideas and information and helping them mold them into an understandable, entertaining, engaging product.
And you do it very well, because your listening skills are very active, and then you can almost hear her brain clicking while you're talking about stuff to see what direction to go in. And then there is an amazing need for someone who can plan. And that is often missed in the world of course development, because we aren't all cookie cutters. We do things differently, but there is a step-by-step process that is needed, in any of this. So I am very grateful, because it's also sent me in the direction of developing the app. So I was like, wait, this has got to be easier for people. I don't want to send them everywhere. Where am I going to send them? So as you're going through this expansion of your business by merging everything together, which I'm so excited about, how do we find you?
Well, you can find me at moxiecoaching.com, and that's MOXXIE coaching.com. You can find me at the Moxie Coaching Podcast on pretty much any of the podcast outlets. Social media at Moxie Coaching, TikTok, I think even at Moxie Coaching. So pretty much all of the typical places.
Okay.
Just remember that's the 2 X's.
2 X's. And give a little bit, what's Moxie? What's the inspiration behind Moxie?
The inspiration behind Moxie is kind of my alter ego, the person that I strive to be, in a way, just this, I got this, no problem. I got Moxie. I can handle it. And I want other people to feel that too. I want other people to say, yeah, I got Moxie. I can figure this out.
Yeah. So. Well, Beyonce has Sasha Fierce.
There you go.
We all have that capability, and sometimes it helps to have it personified in a way.
Yeah.
Have it live its own energy, not personified, but have it live its own energy. And I just love the story behind it. So I wanted them. And I think people wonder about that too, well, wait a minute, her name's Michelle. What's the name of the business? I do. I don't know if other people do. I'm just nosy, I guess. So, and we'll, click in those show notes as well. And on any of the things that my amazing team comes up with to send it out with. Well, I appreciate you coming on and being part of the series of friends who, people I've known and who I just are doing amazing work. And I just don't think enough people know about them. So
thank you.
And combining the energy here. And I really want people to learn more about ways to connect to themselves.
Uh-huh.
I knew the tarot was an amazing way, and I was not going to do it justice. So bring on the experts. Thank you very much. And best wishes and all that exploration of this whole helping other people. It is amazing, isn't it?
It feels so wonderful. Yes, it does. It does. So I will keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your First Sense. And I will see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to Intuition, Your First Sense. As always, please like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it. Leave a review and take a minute to share it with a friend. You can find me all across social media at Coach Vicki Baird, and you can book a virtual session with me from wherever you are in the world at vickibaird.com/booking. That's VICKIBAIRD.com/booking. Thank you again, and see you on the next episode.